and welcome back to the Beer Ladies podcast. I'm Lisa, and I am your host today. And I am joined by two of my co-hosts today. I have Christina and Katie. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
And we're waving to Chandy, who is off on holiday in South Africa, but who is still doing editing for us. So hello, and we're waving at you too. But we are really excited about today's topic because we were really sort of trying to think what's a good topic, but that doesn't require too much research, because we do like to do some of those research heavy ones, but this one is going to be all our thoughts, and we have thoughts and opinions on this topic. But before we get to it, I'm going to first say our usual spiel. Thank you for continuing to follow us on all of the socials. We are at Beer Ladies Pod, most of the places. We are on Twitter. We are on Mastodon. We are on YouTube. We are even on TikTok occasionally. And of course, you can go to our Linktree to find out how to buy us a coffee or a pint. You can also buy some of our cool merch, which we've seen on some people in the wild, and that was very exciting. But I have to say again, drum roll, this week's topic, we're going to go ahead and dive right into that. But first, what are we drinking? So Katie, I'll start with you.
I'm still going through the leftover beers from Christmas. I have Naughty and Nice Vocation. So this is from their Celebrations range. This is based obviously on the Malteser. Or nice. as they call it, it's a creamy milk chocolate stout with malted milk honeycomb sphere flavor. And I'm like, how does a honeycomb sphere taste different from any other shape of honeycomb? I don't know.
Oh,
that's not. Anyway, yeah, obviously
it has a flavor. Okay, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's very good. And Christina, what do you have?
So I know nothing about this brewery or anything about this beer when I saw it, but I just saw the can and bought the beer, and then figured out what kind of beer it was later, because look at this can.
Oh my goodness! Wow, folks at home, there's aliens, there's all the stuff, and it looks like it might even glow in the dark. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm definitely saving this can for later because it's just really cool. So it's Omnipollo, Zodiak, India Pale Ale. And I have heard of Omnipollo, but I don't really know anything about them. I'm sure everyone will now school me about them. Christina, why don't you know anything about them? Sorry, I don't. I have no idea. But again, really just bought this for the can.
We've all been there, right? I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes it happens. For me, I'm a sucker. If they put a stormtrooper or any kind of Star Wars thing on it, I'll buy it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, But say if I'd seen that, I'd have done the same. That's a fun can. So yeah, Omnipollo, they're fun. But yeah, I'm the same. I feel like I've had them here and there. I know they're Scandinavian, but that's kind of the extent of my knowledge. So
yeah, I know they're Scandinavian and they're usually expensive.
Yeah, we may come back to that for our Eurovision episode, but just know that that's coming. We're not ready for that yet, but we'll get on that. Don't you worry. That's
And what are you drinking, Lisa?
And I have the Ballykilcavan Millhouse IPA. That's their session IPA. So always a fan of everything from Ballykilcavan, and I thought this would be a good one for a school night. We're not too crazy, so keeping it low key, but it is really hitting the spot. So all that said, we've got all these different beers, but really what we want to talk about tonight is what makes a great pub. So we've had a lot of thoughts and feelings and ideas, and we'll certainly link in the show notes to the famous George Orwell Moon Underwater essay if anyone wants to see what George Orwell thought made a great pub in 1946. But I think hopefully times have moved on. There are still some interesting points there, but before we started recording, we developed a list of categories that we think are very important to go through, review, and say what in here really makes a pub stand out and really makes you want to keep going back there and have that become your local. So, Katie, what is first on the list?
What is first? I think I'm going to go through these in random order, will I?
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Because there isn't really an order to it. So I'm going to start with decor.
Ooh, decor. And I know, Christina, you had some thoughts. Why don't you kick us off?
Okay. So listen, I was in this sushi place in Fairview, and the name is going to escape me at the moment. And they had these projectors, like the walls were blank, and they were projecting like under the sea onto the walls. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. and I would literally stay there for hours just watching the under the sea. So like I like really eclectic kind of decor. I like visual stimulation. Like I want to like look around and see new things and wonder what that is. And so I love that kind of stuff in a pub. I like will go back to a pub on purpose if the decor is really unique and it says something about, you know, the people that own it or the people that work there or the brewery that it's attached to. I'm really, really, really drawn to that. And I will absolutely go back to a pub that has really cool decor.
Here, here. How about you, Katie?
Yeah, decor is important. It has to feel kind of inviting. You don't want something that has come from, I don't know, a design house and it's very stark and minimalist and has no character. You know, I'm like, you know, those ones that are too cool for school, but I'm obviously not cool enough for them, for their decor. You know, those ones, I don't know, with like concrete slabs as tables and.
Yeah, I think there's a way to be modern without it feeling cold and uninviting. There's
exactly. It's the cold and uninviting that you want. You want to feel welcomed and you want to feel like, ooh, I'm walking into a nice place here and I'm feeling cocooned by the decor. It's like it's drawing me in, not making me want to put on a jacket.
Yeah, and you also want it to feel intentional and like it all goes together. And that sounds so pretentious, but what I mean is like I have definitely been into pubs where it feels like the decor is a party theme and not like the actual decoration of the pub. It feels like they just decorated it for whatever, and it just doesn't work really well, and it feels cold and lonely, and you don't really want to stay. Whereas I've been to pubs where it's like all different kinds of things in the walls from, you know, different decades, but it works. It goes together and it makes sense. So I think you just kind of have to think about things and how they fit together. And I know when you're starting out with a pub, like, oh my gosh, it's the last thing you want to do, but I think it really is important.
Yeah, and I think especially like you said, it doesn't have to be one particular style, but it has to still feel intentional. But I think, you know, we've all been into one of those places, whether it's like in an American Applebee's or something, where then it feels fake, or some of the Irish pubs or some of the Irish pubs you come across. And again, I have to say, I'm not going to name the place, but there is one near me that has just been redone. And it's like, why do I have a fake Irish pub in the middle of Dublin? Like, why? Like nothing about it feels organic or like part of that. It's like they got it out of a kit and you're like, why? You know,
it's obviously for the American tourists.
It must be. It's just a bit embarrassing. But at the same time, like I feel like you can, you know, completely redo your place, but put in a snug. It doesn't have to look ye olde or anything. It can just be a little space. And, you know, I do like a pub that's got some of those little sort of places you can, you know, sneak off with a small group or go for that solo pub, or that solo pint. I think it's nice to have some different spaces. And I think, again, from the decor, I think you can have some real contrast too. Like if you have like the public bar on one side, or maybe you have a lounge upstairs, maybe something can be super ultra modern and something else feels sort of crumbly and, you know, but in a good way. I think it's again, it's like, does it feel inviting? Does it seem intentional? And I think even if it is old and, you know, does it feel like it's at least been kept up though? Not that it's going to like fall down around you or, you know, how sort of, you know, trigger an asthma attack. You want to have a happy medium. So, but I think that's the thing. There's no one particular one. I know in the Moon Underwater essay, like, you know, he says, uncompromisingly Victorian. And I feel like, you know, if you go into to pick on one, because we're allowed to pick on a chain, like to pick on like a Wetherspoons where you get that fake Victorian kind of feel, and that's what they're going for. I mean, they have pubs called the Moon Underwater because of this. You know, it's like, but it doesn't feel real. It's one thing if it comes by that authentically, but when it just feels like it's from a kit, you're like, So I think we keep saying authenticity. That's what I'm hearing from decors. It can be different things, but it needs to feel like it belongs. Yeah, and it wants you to come in and hang out. I think we're going to keep coming back to this as a theme. Excellent. Yeah. So that's decor. Katie, what's next? Next, I'm going to move on to chairs / seating. Oh. And in my old age, I will say I'm a sucker for a comfortable seat, be it a nice chair, a bit of a lounge, a sofa, whatever.
love a nice seat. And you know those pubs where they intentionally have too few seats, or they they have standing tables with no chairs around them. And it's just like, no, come on. And I will say, I'm going to use this opportunity to say, yeah, the pubs that I used to enjoy going to in my 20s are not necessarily the same type of pubs that I enjoy going to now. Like, obviously, as you grow and as you age and as your needs change, you look for different things in a pub. So if you want to go to a place, a disco bar, go to a disco bar.
Definitely.
You know, but I'm of an age now where I'm beyond the disco bar stage, I think. And I do something cozy, something welcoming. Yeah, you don't want to have a sore back or anything like that. What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same, but I do like when you've got that variety where at least, you know, I like it when they have a couple of like sofas or comfy chairs. And again, maybe that's off in the snug or in some other area, but then when you have your, you know, your sort of regular tables and seats, you want those chairs to be comfortable as well. They don't have to match. They don't have to be, you know, a specific look or anything, but you want them to be, you know, functional and that you could sit there for a while, you know, chatting and all of the things. And I think it's, you know, you're absolutely right. There's, you know, there's room for all of those other things because, you know, we want different things at different times, and that's all good. But I feel like I was, you know, sort of prematurely curmudgeonly, because even when I was like, you know, 19, 20, I was like, I just want to sit down with a book and my pint and, you know, have a comfy seat. So I think there's always been a place for that. But obviously you can see that sometimes, you know, you might need event space, and that happens too. But comfy seating. How about you, Christina?
Oh yeah, it's not negotiable. It has to be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, I'm out. Like literally will leave in about 30 seconds. I am grumpy about this. I am a grumpy old man who yells at cloud about this. Like, I need to be comfortable. I am entirely too old to be going to places that like, no. Yeah.
And I will even say, so bar stools, oh my God. If they're the wooden ones and you have the what do you call it? Padding on them.
Oh yeah.
Better. And if they have a back as well.
Even better.
Even better.
Even better. And actually I know this might go under decor, but it also sort of goes to seating. If there's a hook to put your coat or like
your handbag.
Thank you. The deer's head in Belfast, gorgeous, like custom made. They must be hooks where they look like deer's heads and they're beautiful. So I'm like, something functional can be beautiful, and more of that, please. That's just, especially, you know, it rains here all the time. You know, you want to put your raincoat somewhere and not have it like on the back of your chair if you don't have to and be stumbling over it. So, but I do think it goes with seating.
Those hooks make a huge difference. And this is kind of with seating as well. We'll probably circle back to this, but like, so when I was growing up, my grandmother was in a wheelchair and we would go out to restaurants and stuff like this. And one of the big things about seating is making sure that you have tables that are at a certain level that wheelchair users can easily access. This was something that was an issue. Like when I was with my grandma, we go out to eat in restaurants. You want a place where you can pull the chair out and that, you know, she could fit it. I mean, I'm sure that there's different things now than what it was when I was growing up, but that was really important. And I think that's something that people need to consider, because sometimes the tables are too high or they're way too low. So I think, you know, keeping that in mind is also really important, because I know that was something that we looked for when I was growing up.
And also, I feel like, you know, booth-like seating is very difficult for wheelchair users as well, because you're stuck. You there's nowhere to put a wheelchair because you're in a booth. There's no chair to pull away. And
and I think I've seen some of the places that have been redone more recently where you might have the booth on one side but then a chair on the other, so at least you can move the chair, and that will help accommodate that. But yeah, you do definitely see places where just the accessibility is not there. And I know we're going to keep coming back to it when we get to like bathrooms and things like that, but I think it's, you know, it can be difficult to retrofit places to make sure they are accessible, but equally you need to do it. You don't want to be keeping people out of your place. You want it to be welcoming, and you want people to feel like, you know, like they're meant to be there. So make sure everyone's welcome.
100%.
Yeah. And now, is this segueing onto like bathrooms? You mentioned it.
Let's do it. Perfect segue.
Oh, bathrooms.
So many shops.
Especially women's bathrooms, especially women's bathrooms. Just, yes. Go for it, Katie.
Oh, well, number one is accessibility. So I find a lot of places in Dublin, the bathrooms are downstairs or they're upstairs. Not great if you're on wheels, and not great if you've had a few too many drinks and you're trying to stay upright either.
No, like, I mean, they're like miles downstairs. It's like 3 flights downstairs, and like, no, it's, and I know that it's the old buildings and that's how they are and stuff, but really, and this is one of the things that I noticed when we went to Rascals, and I really, really liked, is they have a fully accessible bathroom on just the, the ground floor of the place, and it's actually accessible. It's big. They've really been intentional about that. And it was one of the things I noticed, and one of the things I really appreciated when I went to Rascals and I saw that. So more of that, please. It's just considering all of your customers. And like on the back of that, please make sure that there's enough toilet roll, that there's soap, that they're being cleaned on a regular basis, because I've gone to pubs and the pub outside of the bathroom is lovely. It's clean, it's really nice, it's fine. You go to the bathroom and it looks like something exploded.
Yeah. And we've all seen those. And sometimes it's in the most unexpected places where, like you said, the rest of it's beautiful. And then you're like, oh, really?
Yeah. And the locks don't work on the doors or something like that. And the hand dryers don't work. So then you end up with your drippy hands waiting for, it's like, do I wait for someone to come out of the toilet so I can dry my hands with toilet tissue and it'll just melt all over my hands? And
nice locks are also important. As someone who is like paranoid about getting locked in the bathroom, can we actually have nice locks, like not like ones that like get stuck and are like hard to move and then they no.
Yeah, we don't all carry cans of WD-40 around with us.
No. So yeah, bathrooms are really important. Also maybe more of them like would also be great. But yeah, clean, accessible.
And I will say, as a not a skinny Millink, like a little bit of room to negotiate sometimes is good, because you can have a bathroom where you go in and in order to like close the door, you have to practically stand on top of the toilet seat. Have you ever come across that?
Yeah.
And
you're like, Jesus Christ, who designed this bathroom? How am I supposed to fit in here? I don't know.
Well, and they also will sometimes have like the trash can next to the toilet and everything. So like it doesn't even like you have, no matter what size you are, you
back yourself in.
Yeah. It's just not well designed. It's not well thought of.
Yeah. And I think too, to go, those are all the basics that just should be there, but then you can also go a few steps beyond if you also make sure that they're stocked with different things for different people. So whether there's like period products or whether there are things for like, changing diapers. Like I've been in some tap rooms that have amazing, like, just both facilities where it's in for, whether it's a unisex toilet or whether it's at least in both, like the men's and women's, where there's not an assumption that it's only going to be women going in and dealing with kids. It's great if you go and you're like, oh, they've thought about it when you've run out of like wipes or something, just you're just like, oh, they care. They thought about this and wanted to like look after you as a customer. So I think, those are like, you get like, I don't want to say you should get bonus points for it because it would be nice if everyone did it. But since everyone doesn't do it yet right now, like bonus points. So
exactly. Dads go to the pub with their children, and some of those children are little girls. And are you going to bring a little, let's say a 5-year-old girl to the male bathroom?
Like some of those are gross. Some of those are gross,
I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, family bathroom. And also I really liked when we were down in Crewe in Limerick, they have period products.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing, because people who have periods aren't just women. So like having that accessible in like a unisex bathroom is also really important.
Yeah, I would also call it like Optimism Brewing in Seattle. They're a wonderful tap room, and they just have a great bathroom setup where it's all whatever gender, but there's stuff for everyone. There's great hand washing for everyone. Like it's a really nice, really inclusive setup. And they also have, and again, this might be in our miscellaneous category, they also have a little kids play area. So again, that's like everyone is catered for and no one feels left out. But yes, clean bathrooms, at least, people, like clean, accessible. We would love the rest too.
Yeah, we would love the rest.
Definitely. Where are we now?
Random category. What's next?
Ooh, let's see. Lighting.
Oh, this is a big one for atmosphere. Christina, you have thoughts and feelings. You start.
I have lots of thoughts about this because this is, again, an accessibility thing. Like, it's something that you want to consider for your like neurodivergent customers and stuff like that. A lot of them don't like really, really bright lights. Or equally, like, some people might be sensory seeking, so might want really cool lighting, and that kind of stuff. So it's something that you might want to consider when you're planning out the design, maybe not having huge bright lights over top, and having like different kinds of lighting, like really cool mood lighting and that kind of thing. Equally for myself, I don't like really bright lights over top, and I like really cool lighting. So I'm actually maybe insulting for myself a little bit. But hey. So I like really cool lighting. Like, I have the Philips Hue lights in my house, and I'm obsessed with them. But I do think lighting makes a massive difference. Not too dark and not too light. 'Cause you don't want to see it where you can't see, your face, and you can't see your drink, and you can't see the person you're with. But you don't want it so bright that it's offensive. Like, it just, you know what I mean? It's just not nice.
Yeah. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on I suppose the pub's activity. Because if you're doing food, obviously you're going to need to be able to see your food. You have to read the menu to order. But I do like in the evenings, I like a little bit of some candles on the table, or even LEDs. They're maybe a bit safer and cheaper. Yeah, I have been in pubs where people's hair have caught fire from candles.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Maybe not that.
I know. No, I love them. I think they're very, very atmospheric. I don't mind bright, maybe in a place where it's intentional for a purpose. But if you're going to kind of go into a pub as a bit of an escape from other places, I think, yes, subtle lighting is nice. Obviously, if you want to go in there to read a book, you need the light to be bright enough to read a book, but maybe as different areas, like a quieter area somewhere with slightly different lighting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm the same. I think I do tend to go for slightly darker than I would at home, for example, but just so it feels cozy. And but equally, you're right. Like because I've certainly been to places where I'm like having to get my phone out to read the tap list or whatever, and then it's gone too far in that in that direction. But yeah, I think there's a happy medium. But I think, again, if you've got different spaces within your pub and you can have a warm light over here and a cooler light over here, and I do think that is a really nice way to kind of balance it out and create different atmospheres. So
hedge your bets.
Yeah. Hedge your bets. Yeah.
I like
Make it affordable.
Idea.
Make it affordable. I know that sort of thing is very expensive at the moment, so we understand. But that's maybe something too, to say, you know what, we're going to turn off a third of our lights at the moment to save some money and just see if it still works, or maybe it just makes it atmospheric. Who knows?
Or it depends. Like, we have the Philips Hue bulbs, and they're an expensive upfront cost, but we haven't had to replace the bulbs since we got them, and we got them 5 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
And you can turn them down so they use like less, I don't know, but like they've saved us a lot of electricity and they've saved us a lot of money, like
that's
overall. Awesome. So even if at your house, I know they're expensive, but I do recommend them.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I was obsessed with them.
That's cool. And I'm going to go back to your idea too about the sushi place with like, the projections and the lighting. Like, I think I feel like you don't see that a lot at pubs yet, but I feel like I've certainly been to, again, maybe some tap rooms that are experimenting in that space. So I think there's room to go there. Yeah.
You know who has cool lighting? Circling back, it's Rascals again. They had the rainbow Rascal sign at their pub,
true.
And I was just staring at that. I love all that kind of like color and eclectic stuff. I was
definitely
entranced. But yes, I love that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Very good. And you know what? We've been a lot of shout outs to Rascal. I'm going to bring them down a notch or two in the next topic. Okay. We're going to talk about music.
Okay. No, fair.
I was at a beer festival there, lovely. And the music was very good.
It was great music.
I just
very loud.
Talk to people because it was a little bit too loud. And I did ask for it to, well, actually, a nice, kind gentleman another old timer like ourselves, ask them could they turn it down, and they did for like 2 minutes, and then
Yeah.
but the music is very good, and maybe it's just me and I'm getting old and can't hear people, but I like to have a conversation when I'm out. And obviously I'm at that stage of life, because other times you don't really want to have a conversation, you're just out like trying to catch someone's eye, the music, and do a bit of dancing and stuff. But at this stage of my life, I want to be able to talk. And the music, what do you think about music?
Christina, you look pensive.
I have lots of thoughts. I mean, I'm literally wearing a Nirvana shirt. I have so many thoughts about music and pubs, and all of them are, I love music and pubs. But yes, so I like a nice blend. I'm of course going to lean more like rock, emo, punk. I want to hear more of that and not a little less like what's on the radio, but I really like nostalgic music. So any kind of nostalgic music. I'm in the second half of my 30s. I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but anything that brings me back to like early 2000s or 90s, I'm going to go back to that pub because I like that music. Anything that's sort of like nostalgic, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, here for it, love it. It's really, really nice. I also like to be able to hear myself think and hear the conversations around me. So it is a fine balance between the music being something that you can enjoy and listen to, and it's not drowned out by people talking, but equally you don't want to drown out your conversation by the music. And I'm sure that there are people who know exactly what that formula is to get music at the right level. But I do really like music at pubs when I go to, because I just love music, listen to it constantly. So it's a really important part of me and like what I like. So just hitting that and hitting the mix. Like I do think it's important not just to have one style of music the whole night, but to throw into those nostalgic songs or something a little bit surprising. I was at Brewdog years ago, and then all of a sudden they put some metal on, and like as a metalhead, I was like so excited. And then it was like back to Britney Spears or something. I love that. Like do that. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. No, it makes us so important. And Sam, I'm here if I'm just like suddenly getting like all my like 90s vibes. I'm like, yes, like I was at the Ballykilcavan the other day, and it was just like Groove Armada for days, and I was like, yes, I am just here for like the it was like I was in my chill out room, but I could talk, I could hear myself think. It was just so nice. Or I'll also shout out like at Doyle's Corner, they have a thing where you can, scan a QR code, and then it's a free jukebox kind of a thing. So that means people like me can go in and have like a reign of terror for hours of just forcing my musical taste onto other people. So I'm like, we're listening to the Divine Comedy now, everyone. This is all that's happening the rest of the night. But it will eventually mix. It will eventually mix. But it's a neat thing. And of course, it doesn't work if it's super crowded, because then other people are doing it. But yeah, I like it if it's that mix. And I do like having that little feeling of control, but it's at the right volume, so I could still talk, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think a jukebox, jukeboxes never really took off in Ireland. I think you see them in other countries.
And I think it's really because it's free. Yeah, like I love that it's free. It's just on your phone, and it may not come up, but you haven't paid for it, so it's fine. But it's a nice touch. But yeah, I've definitely been to other places where music is, where they've programmed very specific music for it. And sometimes it's in slightly pretentious, direction. But you know what? If it matches that particular place's vibe, I think it's cool. It's all good. But again, it's getting that exact sort of sound mix right, especially as the place gets crowded, where, you've already got people talking, and you want to still have the music on and still have it, audible, but not have it drown out, conversation. So I think definitely that. And I think too, it's interesting, places that do like the odd live music night, not talking about something that would be like a music venue. That's going to be like a whole different thing. But I think that's nice too, if there's kind of a specific, like whether it's a trad night or something where they offer local musician space. I think that's nice too. But again, then I think you're going there for that instead of to chat. So you want to know, which I think might lead us on to wait, we're not done. Go for it, Christina.
No, so I mentioned Brewdog, which is one of the Galway Bay pubs. And when I said that they did the metal to whatever, anyway, I like Brewdog. So I like Galway Bay pubs tend to, I think, do a good blend of music.
They
but
do.
I was going to say, what is the Beer Temple, the newest one? They had live music on. We did a meetup and it was great. The guy was so great. He did speaking of, a really good mix of like old songs and new songs. And that was something that you could have a conversation with your friends, kind of reminiscing and singing the songs, like, and just kind of enjoying. And so like, I think that's a good way also to do music, like
Definitely.
Lisa said, with the live music, but again, having that sort of mix, so that way the music then becomes the conversation with your friends. And I think that's really lovely. So more of that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to see, like, again, local musicians getting a space to perform. And it's just good to see that. Yeah. Feels very community oriented. We like it. So definitely. And again, and then that was sort of a nice segue. Katie, what was it a nice segue to? I know you've got the list in front of you.
This was a nice segue onto the pub's tap list.
It was a nice segue onto the pub's tap list, because let's just be blunt. Sometimes I have no idea when the place is opening, if they're even open on a particular day, what's on tap. So let's just talk about how pubs communicate. And this is, again, some people are knocking this out of the park and others, folks, I don't know. Go, Christina, you're making the face.
No, like my frustration is when you have a list of like 500 different beers and you only have like 3 of them. And that's an exaggeration, but like, don't do that. Like, don't have a written list of all these beers and then not have them. That's just really frustrating as a customer. I know it's expensive to keep printing them, so don't. Have other options. Like Underdog has their televised tap list. That's amazing. I love that. I'm obsessed with that. You can get it on your phone as well. Again, love that. Obsessed with that. More of that.
And I love in the Underdog when one disappears and you're there standing at the screen waiting to refresh, going, I wonder, you're about to go to the bar and you're like, no, I know there's one missing and they're about to tap it, so I'm going to wait and see what it is before I commit to my next drink. I think is really, 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 really good.
Definitely. And I love that it's on your phone and you can find out before you go. You can make that kind of list and be like, plan ahead. So,
and shout out to that app that I have on my phone, Drink Irish, is it?
Yes. Drink Irish is really trying to like build that up. And I know I've certainly like checked some things in for them to be like, oh, this is on here. So it's nice to see some of that growing. And actually, now that I say that, I'm realizing I should have done that yesterday when I was at a pub that just started having local beer on, and I didn't do it. So I'm a bad person. I have to go back and contribute to the collective. So
yeah. So for those who don't know Drink Irish, you can, if you go into a pub and you find out that they have good craft beer, you can declare it online, and then everyone else will know. That pub never used to have craft beer. I want to go there now because now they do. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely like some other places I've lived in, and especially Philly, where there was a whole Philly tap finder and you could see everyone subscribed to it. And I know some of this can be in Untapped as well, but I feel like some of the hyper local ones just work better than everyone having to become an Untapped verified venue, because I feel like there's baggage with that, and that's without getting into too much to that. But I do think there are lots of opportunities, and I think it's taplist.io is what they're using at Underdog to power both the website and what's on the screens. And I think that is a great option. I would love to see more people doing that. I mean, they have to have some kind of variety in their lineup, certainly, to make it worthwhile, but absolutely. I mean, I still think of like, back in the day, and this would be like the early, or even like late 90s, early 2000s, going to DC and going to the brew skeller or the beer skeller, and they have the big book, big printed book of all of their taps, and all of the cans and bottles, and like 2/3 of them would not be there. And then you just spend the rest of the time being like, okay, I'm just going to keep going until we hit on one that's actually available. And we don't have that problem here just because no one has like a 200-page list, but equally, like, that was never a good experience. So
no, it's a thing that makes me, I won't come back. Because, then, because, you get excited. You kind of have this idea, oh, I want to go there. I want to have this. And then you go there and they don't have that. And you're kind of like, I thought I came for this. And it's just really frustrating. And I just think back to accessibility, there's just better ways to make things more accessible to your customers, especially, people want many different ways of being able to read or access this information, and just having like a printed menu probably isn't the best option when there's other ways that are more accessible to many different kinds of people and many different people who have different preferences on how they want to access it. And like, I do like having something, on my phone, so that way I don't have to go up to the bar and crowd around the bar to figure out what I want. Like, it's much nicer to be able to see them from the big screens like they have an Underdog or on the app on my phone, so I can actually just sit there and have a look and not kind of crowd up the bar. And then I can actually like think and debate, again, not crowding the bar, which I think is nice.
And I just think also updating whatever you have on tap on your actual tap. So like, if you've changed the beer, please change the fisheye and everything, because you walk up and you'll go, I'll have that, and they go, well, actually, that's something completely different now. And we just haven't bothered to update what we have physically at the tap, let alone technologically.
Yeah, or sometimes you'll go and there'll be 3 different lines kicked, and they've just got sort of a plastic cup over it, and you're like, And I get sometimes places are crowded, or people were ill, or you didn't have the staff. So it's one thing when it happens from time to time. It's when it's kind of a pattern. You're like, you're expecting to see something there, and it's just not there. So it's certainly frustrating, and I think that goes to again, like, what are you providing a welcoming atmosphere, and are people getting what they expect? But I think just to circle back on the whole kind of communication piece, I think, well, I'll say many, not all, but especially like many, I would say, especially sort of Irish pubs and bars will not tell you when they are open. And like, you have to like go to the website. That's not updated. Go to Instagram. Maybe that's right. And I feel like I have to go to like 4 different places to try to.
And I think post-COVID, it's so unpredictable. If they have a day where they're closed and nobody knows, or if they don't open early, maybe they only open at 2 or they only open at 4. Yeah, we want to know, because like we want to spend our money somewhere. Please help us.
Definitely. And somebody, again, this is just to say there's a lot of it. Some people that were doing an amazing job are absolutely on top of, here's our opening hours, or, oh, hey, we're closed today for a staff party or whatever. Great. Just let people know. But I mean, I think like anything, and this is going to sound boring and corporate, but unless you make those things part of someone's job where, they're kind of measured on it. And again, it's not a fun thing, but like, it doesn't get done. So I feel like if you're just leaving it up to like whoever happens to be on staff today, these things don't happen. So, but again, it's just one of those things where, there's some thought in it that goes into it. There's something intentional about making sure that someone is the person who does that. Someone is the person who, just like someone's going to come in and unlock the door, you need someone to be like, oh, we open at 2 today and here's what's on tap. So
definitely. And now we're peeking about someone. Staff is so important in a pub, and they can make you or break you, right?
Definitely.
And they can make you want to say, I'm never going back to that place, or, oh my God, that person was so nice, let me tip you all my money.
Yeah. And I think we have to shout out, like, most of the time, like pubs here, you get, and like it sounds stereotypical, but you get an amazing welcome. Even if it's not a great air quotes pub, you still get like, it's very different from going to, like, I would say, a bar in America or a bar in, say, London. It's very different. Like, people here are like really welcoming you. They'll chat with you. It's a very different vibe.
I don't think I've ever had, with the exception of one place, bad service in a craft beer bar in Dublin, point blank, period. Don't think it's ever happened. Like, it's just, the staff are always really kind and welcoming. Typically when we go, we do like beer ladies events, and they're always so accommodating, so kind, make sure everyone is well taken care of. I have nothing but good things to say about pubs in Ireland. My experience has not quite been the same at pubs in the US. And that's that's the drama. But here in Ireland, I don't think I've had a bad, maybe once, but I don't, maybe one exception. But
and I would say, again, I'd say most of the time people actually kind of go above what I would expect, where if someone's being problematic in the bar, someone will ask them to leave and will, make sure that either that person gets a taxi home or that person is otherwise, not bothering people. I know, Christina, you and I had that experience not too long ago where they made sure that a fella got on his way home and, no harm done. And they were lovely about it. It didn't seem, bad. They just...
Yeah, they were really good at de-escalating the situation,
Definitely.
which could have definitely escalated as the gentleman was really intoxicated. But they de-escalated it really quickly. So it's not something I think bar staff should have to do, but unfortunately it's something that they do. And I was incredibly impressed with the way that they handled it. And again, we'll be back there lots of times.
Oh, 100%.
Actually I think about it, I don't actually think I've had any bad experiences at craft beer pubs. I said one exception because I always like to give myself like an out, but I actually don't think I've.
Yeah, and I feel like we'll circle back to what those tend to be like, because I feel like they happen in a specific category of things. But again, like shout out to the folks at Crew who are so wonderful. We love everyone at Crew. Where again, the staff know everything, and they've got the they Ask for Angela program there too.
Yes.
And I think that's really good. And I've seen that at Crew, and I've seen that at a couple places in Belfast as well. But I think that kind of thing is so important to have staff trained on just how to, again, either de-escalate a situation or just, be aware of what's going on. Again, not that they should have to, but I think it's important that that kind of, training and understanding is available.
For sure.
Yeah. But again, just to circle back on the bad experience, turn it into a good thing. I think we've all been in one of those situations where you're waiting at the bar, and they serve every man, and you're still just standing there at the bar. And again, this has not happened to me in Ireland more than once, but it's happened to me a lot in the US, and it's happened to me a lot in the UK. And I've always been like, am I invisible? Like what's going on here? And I feel like it's more at, and I'm going to air quote it here, craft beer bars and pubs than at kind of other ones for some reason. So
and I will just say that girls talk, so we will tend to avoid those pubs because we know that maybe we're not welcome there. I don't know.
Yep. And the craft beer community, even though it's big in places, it's small. We know each other, and if you pull that stuff, we're all going to tell each other, and we're not going to come. Because that is absolutely something that's happened to me in the US. Like I've just been passed over and over again. And I'm like, I have the same money. I'm going to tip you. I don't understand.
Yeah. And you're there with either money or your phone, and you're like, I'm ready.
Like, why are you ignoring me? I'm going to tip you. I'm going to tip you as much as him, probably more, to be honest, because I've worked in restaurants and stuff like that. And I always in the US tip high. I mean, I tip in Ireland. You don't have to tip. But like, what is the thought process behind people who do that? And then also what I get in the States, which I've not gotten here, is the pop quiz or that, condescending attitude, like I don't know anything about this. Like, you asked for like an IPA. Are you sure?
Are you sure? Yeah. Or do you know that's a dark beer? That's the other one I used to get. I feel like that's changed, but I used to get do you know that's a dark beer? I'm like, yes.
Now, huge caveats with this. I haven't lived in the States in 12 years. And since I've been back to visit, like my family that lives there, I haven't had this happen. So things might have changed drastically. I'm hoping that they have in the time that I've been gone. But when I was younger and I was living there, it was definitely something that I experienced.
Yeah, no, same. And that's the thing. It's been a long time since I've had it, but it used to be a really common thing when you would, and it was always, again, wildly sort of stereotyping. It would always be sort of a younger dude bartender who just kind of needed to think he was cool. And you're like, this is so frustrating. But again, I think, it just comes back to though, like how you train and what you expect of your staff, especially if they don't know anything about what you have on tap. When you say, oh, do you have a local beer? And there's a pause and they're like, Carlsberg? And you're like, And again, it's not the fault of that person. They just don't know. But if that's not part of the program and you want to be a craft beer pub or, at least have some options, I think, and again, I don't think this is by any by any means saying everyone needs to be a craft beer pub or whatever. But again, one of my favorite examples is there's this great place in the Philly suburbs called Capone's. And it's still this old school Italian place that has like all your shitty macro beers but like local crowd that's been there for decades and the most amazing craft beer lineup anywhere. And both audiences, if you like, perfectly happily coexist. And, you know, these waitresses who've been working there for probably 40 years know everything because they've been trained, but they also are not going to be like judgy or weird if that's not what you're into, or, you know, they're able to cater to multiple audiences. And again, I think pubs here do that anyway, but it's just nice to see that kind of, again, inclusivity. And it comes back down, you know, how are you onboarding people? What are you, you know, what's the training? Do they have other opportunities to learn stuff? So
yeah, and I think that's important. Like if your staff wants to learn more, and you want to have that reputation of being a good craft beer place, then like pay them to train, maybe get them a beer server, you know, in the Cicerone program, like pay for that and pay for their time, pay them for this, because that stuff is really important and your staff should be obviously paid for it. But it will definitely attract and keep people coming back to the place if you have that educated staff, if that's what you want to be known for. If you just want to have a couple taps on, you know, still train your staff, and that's fine. But if you want to be known for that, then it might be worth, if there's interest in paying for your staff member to go learn that. Because I think that's pretty cool.
Here.
That's just my opinion though. But
how about you, Katie? You look like you have other thoughts on the peopling behind the bar.
The people behind the bar. Well, I suppose I'm Irish. We're known for our pubs. We're known for our bar staff. And I will just say, my God, the Irish bar staff are the quickest. Oh my God. Come last orders or whatever, and the bar is crowded and people are shouting from all angles. It's like, they get it, and they get it right all the time. You know, how do they do it? I don't know. I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night. You know? And then you go to somewhere else and they just don't have that. It's a skill. It's a skill.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, because it's treated as a proper, you know, skill, like you say, or a career. It's not just this thing someone's doing as a summer job and they're going to move on. It's a proper, you know, skill with you know, respect. So
and that's important. I think that we need to respect as customers. We need to really respect bar staff, and bar staff should be paid accordingly, because it is a skill and it is a career and it is important, and it's a hard job, you know, figuring out what people want to drink and answering the questions. Oh, what do you like? You know, what do you like to do this? And having, you know, like we saw Lisa having the right skills to kind of de-escalate a situation and get people out. Like that is a incredibly skilled set of like things that you have to do in order to be like an amazing person at a bar. And like Katie said, Ireland is full of, you know, just highly skilled people, and you know, and so they should be paid accordingly and respected accordingly, because just I'm always blown away with how amazing.
And you know what, even if they're just college students and they're doing it for the summer, they should still be
paid.
They're still
and respected accordingly. Yeah, because everybody's time is valuable, no matter where you are and how much you've worked. Everybody's time is valuable and important, and they should be paid well. Unionize.
So next on our agenda is food.
I have thoughts. I have thoughts. What my thought though is always like, why can I not get lovely soft pretzels with beer cheese here as a snack? Because you literally just pop them in a microwave and they're gorgeous. And I would love to see them here, because you can get them in Germany. You can get them all over the US. I would love to see them in Ireland. But again, this is my personal, like, you know, my quest, my sort of whole, you know, quixotic kind of, you know, crusade is like, I would really like there to be soft pretzels with beer cheese, especially because we have amazing cheese here. Just saying.
Anyway,
cheese is amazing.
And I love, you know, even if it's not a pub that has full food, I like food personally. Like I like, you know, I want to be able to either get a meal or have some snacks, but like good bar snacks, like again, like your soft pretzel, or again, I'm gonna shout out the Cat and Cage, because it got these little mac and cheese balls that are just gorgeous.
Oh. Cat and Cage has some of the best bar food, like bar none. Like when we were there, Lisa got me hooked on the mac and cheese bites, but I am obsessed with their tacos, which are
Tacos
fantastic.
are good, yeah.
The pizza is out of this world. Like they have gluten-free crust, you know. Oh my God. Like the food at the Cat and Cage is just, it's a whole nother level. Like
yeah, they're
it's
doing it
so
right.
good. It's so good. And I like that they have like little snacky options. You can have a little, you know, some little snacks here and there. So you don't have to get a big meal if you just want a few little things to like nibble on while you're drinking. But yes, Cat and Cage for food. Oh my God, yes.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am all here for snacky food, because you pop in and you don't intend to have that third pint, but sometimes you do, and you're like, oh, I'm starting to get a bit peckish here now, so I'd love some snacks. And then if you want to stay for a meal, not everybody has to have
absolutely
proper food. They can have some just snacky food, and that's fine. And if you do want to do food, you don't have to do everything. Pick something and do it really well. You know?
Here. Yeah, and I've even been places that just do bread and butter, just really good, like freshly baked bread and lovely salted butter. And again, we could do that. There's amazing butter in this country. Just saying that would be a simple option. You can partner with a local bakery. It doesn't have to be something you're doing in-house. It's just available. So
well, even years ago, we had a beerladies event out at 4 Provinces. They had like, you know, their pub and tap room. Amazing, which is also just an amazing place to go. They do, just love that place. But they do, well, when we were there, like toasted sandwiches. It's the same thing. You all get the same thing. And then, you know, Bob's your uncle, you eat it or wear it. But it was really good. Like, it's just a nice toasted sandwich. So it doesn't have to be like that complicated.
Definitely.
You know, just offer like a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian option, and then you're good. Like,
yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. And yeah, I completely agree, Katie, when you're saying you don't have to, and Lisa, when you just say you don't have to have them, you don't. Just do what you do well. You know, just
absolutely.
Have some snacks.
Yeah, besides, exactly.
Campy fries.
No, absolutely.
Which are fine as well.
Which are fine, yeah. And definitely there are pubs that I would go to for a meal and pubs that I would go to for snacks, or even just, again, lovely cheese board. I'm saying you don't have to do it there. It could be something you partner with, but I love a good cheese board. You know, these are all good, you know, nibbly things. But I do like there to be nibbles, even if you don't have a full food offering, but the nibbles to be, again, like more than just like, here is your bag of crisps. Like time and place, good. But, you know, I also like to settle in for a while and also get some food and make sure that, you know, you're not becoming that problem customer. You know, you want to stay on an even keel. So I think we are fans of food in the pubs, but we are saying, do what you do well. Doesn't have to be complicated. Just, you know, do what works for your customers. So
exactly. So we're coming to non-alcoholic options as well.
Really important.
Very important. Very important. And I am loving this whole non-alcoholic trend that is happening. And you're actually having non-alcoholic beer on tap now in Ireland. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Like, in my ideal world, I would be switching from an alcoholic beer or two to then a non-alcoholic one, and then back and forth and back, you know, as you go on. That doesn't always happen. But I'm incorporating a lot more non-alcoholic, like, to be honest with you, during the week, like doing events like this, doing our podcast recording, I prefer to drink non-alcoholic. Because the beer is getting better and better, right? It doesn't just kind of taste watery like, you know, it was years ago, and the options are just more numerous, or even low ABV. But I think having non-alcoholic options are incredible for, you know, designated drivers, for people like us who just want some non-alcoholic options, for people who want to switch it up, for pregnant people, for, you know, people who are breastfeeding. Like, this is definitely something that's come up in like beer ladies things. Like, can you recommend more non-alcoholic options? You know, I'm breastfeeding or I'm pregnant and I want to. So to be able to go to the pub with your mates when you're, you know, doing one of those two things and having an option and not having to have a sparkling water, for example, when you could have a, you know, 0% or whatever, is really nice option. You know, like you don't fall off the face of the earth when you're one of those two things. And I think it's important that those options are there. And I know they're there for everybody, but I think that's also something that you're opening up for you know, people in that category as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think, again, I would give a shout out to, you know, the people who are putting on, like you said, all that better non-alcoholic stuff. That is fantastic. And even if you have more than just like, you know, oh, here is your, you know, Coke or whatever, if you're there with your kids or something, if they can get something that's actually good, like maybe there's like a locally, you know, well, some places get really fancy and like make their own sodas, and like, you don't have to go that far, but if that's something you do, that's pretty great if they make their own, you know, whatever it is, whether it's their own sort of root beer, which I'm air quoting, or something else. Like, I think that's always nice too, to see those other things. But yeah, I love that I can go, especially like if I'm like doing the school run, but I've got an hour to kill beforehand. If I can go and have my Guinness Zero while I'm just hanging out with a book, no complaints. That's nice to have those options.
No, I still haven't had a Guinness 00, and it is on my list because everyone says it's so good. So I must try that.
It is good. Yeah. Although I've got the new Dot Brew non-alcoholic in my fridge waiting for me. So
did you get it?
I got it.
Is this the one brewed with the special yeast?
Yes, with like the special New Zealand yeast. Yeah.
Oh, so. Okay.
But yeah, but that's exactly why I got it. Same thing, to be like, have something to have during the week where, you know, you're just trying to keep it low key. So yeah, but I'd love to see more of that kind of thing, both on tap and in cans. And I think too, to expand that to not just the non-alcoholic, but like the gluten-free ones too. So I think it's nice Definitely. To be making sure things are, you know, that people are catered to. And I know, Katie, you and I were chatting with Patty at the Underdog about, do you label the gluten-free beer as gluten-free or not? Because sometimes it puts people off, but other times people want to know and want to, you know, are seeking that out, whether it's for health reasons or, you know, that maybe they're just sort of looking for that. Because I will say, I think it's great because I had a beer the other day that was a gluten-free beer, but was not labeled as such. And I only found out when I went to like check it in on my Untappd, and I was like, would I have bought it if I had known, since that's not what I was looking for? And also, if that was what you were looking for, but it wasn't labeled in any way at, you know, on the taps, how do you know? So there's definitely more to do there in terms of like how you're labeling things. But again, more options for more people, I think. Here for it.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Where are we now on our list? Ooh. Sports, yay or nay?
I like both for different reasons. You know, sometimes I do like to go to those pubs that actively do not have the sports. And again, Katie, you and I at the Underdog the other day, where we were like, we're at a refuge, like a rugby-free, you know, refuge, more because places get so crowded, you know, but other times I want to go watch the game with people. So it kind of really depends. So I think it's great if you do cater for it, but also if you don't, if you explicitly are like, we don't have TVs, tell people so that people know there's an option.
Yeah, like I like the sports, but I ideally like sports when there's different, you talked about this, Lisa, like different spaces within the pub. So there's a place where you can go watch the match, and then there's places where you can like not watch the match. So I think that's good, because sometimes I'm interested in what match is on and sometimes I'm not. So I think it's good if there's like different spaces, because it gets really crowded and it can be really loud with people yelling at the telly and that kind of stuff. But I think, you know, sports and going out to the pub is a great tradition. And I think it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something I enjoy doing with my friends. But, you know, if I'm not interested in the match, like I don't watch rugby, you know, it's good to know that the game is on so I can avoid going there at that time, or, you know, that there's more spaces in the pub and I can just go to where the game is not playing.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think, again, this goes back to the communication, is like, just tell people what you're planning, and, you know, people can plan accordingly, and you'll still get a good crowd. You'll just get the crowd that's getting what they expected, which I think is nice.
Exactly. Sure. And where are we? Oh, we're nearly at our end. And is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you think makes a pub a good pub or a great pub? I'm going to say, when I was living in Berlin during the winter, one thing I really, really liked there, I've been thinking about this, and I'm thinking maybe it's not done because maybe it's a fire hazard or something. But when you're coming into the pub, they have their main door, but then inside their main door, they'll have a heavy curtain or two that you go through, and it keeps the warmth in the pub, and the door stays cold, and you don't get the draft every time someone opens the door. And I just found that I was like, why don't we have this in Ireland? That's amazing. And it's so cheap, cost effective, simple. But then I'm thinking maybe there's a reason we don't have it and I just haven't figured that out.
Yeah, but you're right. It's nice to come in and just not get that draft, immediately, especially if you're sitting near the door.
Yeah. I do think temperature is a good thing to consider. That good thing you brought up, Katie, because that's my pet peeve in pubs in Ireland when they have the fire going like way too long into like the spring and summer, and it is approximately 10,000 degrees in the pub. And it's the same thing. Like it'll be cold outside and it's 1,000,000 degrees in the pub. Like that's a fine thing to hit right, and I think it's hard to hit right, and that's a frustrating thing for me. Like trying to find a pub that has that happy balance where I don't feel like I'm cooking inside. But yeah, when pubs have the fire going and it is like, 25 degrees out and you're like, why are you doing this to me? It's so hot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. And again, like fireplace, do they have one? Do they not? Like, because sometimes, like you say, you really want that. If it's cold, it's lovely to go to a pub that's got the fire and just sit. But you're right. But in the summer, or even in just like, say it's March, so to be like, it could be really warm, could be too warm, could be really too warm, or the opposite.
Could be freezing.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But yeah, just put the fire. I don't know. Like this is why I don't own or run a pub, because I don't have the capacity to know any of this, and I will leave it to the skilled people who do. But oh my gosh, and then you're just, no.
Yeah, no, and then my other, like, I know I have a whole miscellaneous category, but I understand that they are unique to me and that I am a weirdo to want to know about some of these things. But I love it if the pub tells you something about their history, even if it's relatively new. Just give you some context to say, either, hey, my friends and I founded this 5 years ago because we wanted to, have X community or whatever. Or if it is like a 250-year-old pub, tell me about that. Even if it's maybe not all of it's real, still tell me what you want to tell me about it, and then I can kind of figure out what's real and what's not. And obviously, if your pub is haunted, I want you to tell me your pub is haunted, because, this is important. So
I second the motion. Like I want your folklore. I don't necessarily need it to be true or factual.
Exactly.
But I like the fun stories. Just make sure that you're framing it as this is the folklore and not whatever. But I love that. I think that adds to the ambiance. Like, did you see the ghost of whatever? I love that. And I think that's a big draw for pubs for me. I will absolutely 1000% go to a pub that has a good story and good folklore and ghost stories. I will go out of my way to go there.
Here.
So yeah, I completely agree with you, Lisa, and I totally second the motion.
Yes. All right. So everyone get your ghosts. We want to know. Although then, it can go overboard too.
I have a ghost.
Oh, I love the ghost. Because like you go to York and every pub has like a list outside, like what ghosts haunt the pub, and you're like, okay, it's still fun, but you're like, it's a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Here for it. Go on, Katie.
One thing I kind of like is like board games.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yes.
Or the occasional pub quiz, but not too serious. Like a
Yeah.
low-key pub quiz. Yeah, definitely like all of that kind of stuff.
I also think that you should have time or spaces, like this is in an ideal world, an ideal pub, where people can come in and knit or draw, or crochet or cross stitch, can kind of do those kind of activities, because like going out to a pub and doing that with friends is like a really nice thing to do. And I know some pubs aren't like really keen on that. I don't know why. Because
they're afraid we're going to stab you with our crochet hook.
Yeah. But I think giving people space and opportunity to kind of do that, I think is also like really cool. Drawing as well. Like it's anything that's not going to actually cause a mess to the pub.
Like come in, have your Yu-Gi-Oh battle or your Magic battle. Whatever you want to do, definitely.
Yeah, Cards Against Humanity in a pub, lots of fun. I've been to a couple places that have that, and it's just fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally agree.
And I think one thing that we have we not mentioned it yet? What about the beer?
See, because we have to summarize, right?
This is why we go to the pub.
So we will end. Will we end on the beer?
We'll end on the beer. Yeah, definitely. Oh gosh, it's such a big thing because I feel like there are one or two, I'll say, non-craft beer pubs that I will go to just because they are lovely, but I don't necessarily linger in them because I'll have the one beer if there's some other reason for me to be there. But if it's got the lineup I'm looking for, I'll be there longer. So I like that you've got the variety. I like that you know what's on tap, but also I feel like it's not a guarantee. I feel like it is here, but in a way that it's not in some other places, that you clean your tap lines if you're a proper craft beer bar, and that's not always true other places. So
yeah. There are definitely some pubs where sorry, Katie, that I just look at and I'm like, I'm not going to drink that beer because I don't know how long it's been on here, and this is not the. I don't trust it because I've gotten burned.
Yep.
I think we've all gotten burned because we were always like, oh my God, this beer. I remember that from last summer and it's on tap here. And then it's like, that should set the alarm bells off, right? Straight away. That it hasn't moved. It hasn't moved. It's been sitting there, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Clean lines. We can tell.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And there was a pub I used to go to called the Teku Tavern in Seattle, where they would have the date when they last cleaned the tap lines up above the bar and like what date they tapped what. And it was, again, all this digital display, and it was all just part of the system. But that was really cool. It was nice to know that was, they thought that was so important that they were going to tell you. And it was always just really top-notch stuff. So it was just nice to see them take that, put that much importance on it, and as well they should, because that's, people are doing all this work behind the scenes. Why not get a little credit for it? So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Although I think too, I have to bang my drum too. Cask, please. I would like some cask lines, please. But again, because this goes back to, it's got to be fresh. It's got to be kept well, because if it's not, I mean, we've all had those situations where, you're in England, you're excited, you're getting something, and then it tastes like vinegar, and you're like, why? And again, this is not everywhere, but I've definitely been there and had it happen relatively recently, and I've been like, why? And I understand why. Like, it is a hard job, like we've been saying, but also I do think if we got, proper cask going again here, people would get excited about it and make sure they drink it fresh. So again, we've all volunteered as tribute to come and, do the job.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But maybe just to go on the beer a little bit more before we finish up too, I think, again, having that variety on tap where it's not just like we've talked about 17 different hazy IPAs.
Macro. Yeah.
Or even that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in Ireland, you just get so many macro taps, and you might have the token craft tap, but is it really craft? Is it really craft? Or is it big beer masquerading as craft,
Yeah,
Exactly.
they love to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or, it's so frustrating. Like you go to I'd say almost any concert or entertainment venue here, and there's nothing else. Not even like a fake crafty tap. It's just, here is your Heineken. And, if you're lucky, here's your Guinness. Sometimes it's here's your Heineken and here's your Island's Edge. And then why? So
yeah.
Yeah. But again, that's why my pro tip is go to the Oak before any shows at the Olympia, because that way you don't have to have a terrible beer at the Olympia. So it's no good. No bueno.
I was at the Gaiety at the weekend. I drove. And on that note, we shall leave it.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll just wrap up to say, here are a lot of things we think are nice, but again, we know that those of you who are other beer nerds, you're already thinking about the beer. You're already going places because they have a good tap list, because they look after it. And again, I would say really high on the list because the staff there know their stuff and are lovely people, and want to make sure you have a good time. So we would also love to hear from your thoughts, listeners. So what are things you like, or what are things that drive you crazy? Are there places you avoid because they do X or Y? Or are you with us and you're like, comfy chairs, please. We just want to sit and relax and enjoy a pint and not feel stiff getting up.
Yeah.
It's big. Even if you're not old, just want to be comfortable. So again, we'd love to hear your thoughts, but with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. So I will say again, you can find us at Beer Ladies Pod on all of the things. You can go to our Linktree to go ahead and buy us a pint if you want to, buy some of our merch. We love to see folks out in the wild with either some of our badges or t-shirts or all of the things. So don't be shy. We have all fits, all styles. There's something for everyone. But I would say again, on that note, thank you so much. So thank you, Christina and Katie, and we will see you all again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.